thousands have been gathering at the Kopi to commemorate today, and we've got Moloto with us now. Moloko, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, a lot of people speaking. The EFF has always taken a very keen interest in this particular issue. Ramaphosa was there today. Was he actually speaking for the EFF, though?
Good evening, Sally. Well, you are correct that the Red Beret have always been behind these commemorative events as they had been taking place over the years since 2012. However, as time went on, we really began to see them distancing themselves as a political party from this. So they were not here today. And Ramaphosa, I assume that as a lawyer representing the families of these miners, was here in that capacity. Also because as he was addressing the crowd here, he confined his speech primarily on issues pertaining to legal matters that are before court. For instance, Sally, he has said that the court case that is before, or the lawsuit that is before the High Court currently, wherein the families of the miners are suing President Cyril Ramaphosa in his personal capacity, and the mine Sibanye Stillwater. You'd recall that Ramaphosa at the time, of course, he was not in government. Jacob Zuma was president. Natim Tetra was the Minister of Police. Ria Piera was the National Police Commissioner. And of course, those are the people who were in charge of the state. Ramaphosa, he is being blamed because he had sent that particular email urging those who were here having a particular authority to start acting on what he believed was the criminality, considering the fact that 10 people had been killed before the massacre. So Ramaphosa was saying that, look, that the main aim of that lawsuit, one, is to make sure that this particular copy here is fenced off so that it can be sacred, Sally. People should not be walking as they wish here. And he also said the second thing is that there has to be a tombstone with the inscribed names of all the people who died here. And the third thing he said was that there has to be an apology from both President Ramaphosa and still mine. Let's listen to Ramaphosa as he was elaborating in terms of what the expectations on the side of the families are.
Now, in the Balagle case Ramaphosa and Sibanye is that kula case asifuni mali kuphela. Sibathe sifuna ezinye izinto ezintathu. One is that le ndawo le funeka ifakelwe ifence njengoba bebesitsho omama. Ibe indawo ehloniphekileyo, ingabi yondawo ehamba kuchanyelwa kuyo nje. Okwesibini sithe kufuneka bakhe ilitye kule ndawo lesikhumbuzo elinamagama wonke amaxhoba. Yesibini leyo. Eyesithathu sithi iyona ilula kuzo zonke izinto ukuba mabacele uxolo. Yintoni enobanzima ukuba bazocela uxolo ebantwini? Uyalalala. Uba la mali ebeyifake phalaphala ebenokwenza ngayo ifence apha ayenze kaninzi. So sithi ithetha uba imali ininzi makazoyifaka apha la mali mhlawumbi singamxolela nangalaa nto benze pha le yasematrasini.
Well, I certainly heard pala pala in that, but if you could just translate the rest of what he said, that would be great.
Well, Sally, Ramaphosa there was saying that the president should consider using the money that he had stashed or hidden at his Pala Pala farm in the furniture, in the mattresses and in the couches, bring it here to, try to make this area look better, perhaps they may consider forgiving him. In a nutshell, that's what he was saying, Sally.
All right. Talk to me about the AMCU leader, Joseph Matunda. Of course, such a central figure 10 years ago. He'd spoken to the workers many times. And of course, at that time, there was bitter rivalry between the National Union of Mine Workers, who up until then had dominated the workforce at this mine, and AMCU, the new kids on the block. Talk to me about the tone of what he had to say. Because he was a firebrand 10 years ago. Has he changed?
Well, it seems that he still enjoys so much respect, Sally, so much support among members of AMCU here and the workers in general. In fact, he went on to say that trying to paint a picture of the role that he played that year, saying that, look, I have had to go down, I have had to go there and talk to face the danger as a leader. And he went on even to say that as far as the animosity that existed between AMCU as well as the National Union of Mine Workers, giving us the impression that, hey, we are okay now. He even praised the new leaders of National Union of Mine Workers, saying we are working together with them. It seems as if they are seeing things the same way that they do as AMCU. But also, Sally, the other thing that Matunda has said was that, look, the apartheid rulers, when they left, they actually left a functional state, saying that there were trades, SAA was there, and many other things were there. Today, and in his word, the thieves arrived, I'm quoting him, and he says, today everything else has been destroyed, saying you might hate the Afrikaners, as he said, the people who were governing at the time during apartheid, but he says they have left infrastructure as well as a functioning state. As I said, he's saying it's been destroyed, saying now you walk into a clinic, you find that you don't even have medication. And he went on, Sally, to attack really the constitution, saying that it must be scrapped in its totality, blaming it for the ills of South Africa today, saying that essentially all the troubles that we have, the moral degeneration, can be pinned on this constitution, saying South Africans must draft their own constitution in line with their cultural values. And he went on to say South Africa has had 4 presidents. Obviously, we had more than that. We had Mandela, we had Mbeki, we had Zuma, and we had Kgalema Motlanthe. And today we have Cyril Ramaphosa, saying Mandela was somebody who spent years in jail, and then Mbeki was somebody who was considered an intellectual. Then we had Zuma, and he said with Zuma, they said he was uneducated, same as myself, as Matunda. And he said, then came Ramaphosa, the man is a billionaire. But all those presidents of South Africa from Mandela, he says they have done absolutely nothing for the people of South Africa. Let's listen to Joseph Matunda.
The 4th president we had a president that is a multi-billionaire. But all this president hasn't changed the life of a black child in South Africa. We need a president that has a compassion. And such president can be appointed by God. The God that will touch the minds and the souls of the South Africans, and to open their eyes and their conscience to be able to elect the president that will have compassion. The president, when the woman is raped, he's not going to sleep in his house. He will go and find out what has happened.
Let's talk accountability. We know that millions has been paid out, over 170 million, I think you told us last week, to families of those who were killed or injured in the years since the massacre. But it's been slow coming, certainly. But in terms of police who opened fire, who ordered that the miners be fired on, has anyone actually been sent to prison or fined or any sort of responsibility taken or ordered?
Well, Sally, AMCU is saying that this is 10 years of betrayal, 10 years of no arrest, 10 years of no apology, and 10 years of no accountability. If you look at the people who killed the miners, because the state does admit that it has killed the 34 mine workers, we have not seen anyone going to jail. Of course, there were some of the police leaders, particularly at the provincial level, who were taken to task. But as we speak, there's none of them is serving jail time. And in fact, on the other side, we know that the police came down immediately after the massacre to arrest nearly 300 people, and they have had to discharge many of them. And today, as we speak, only 17 of those mine workers who were initially arrested are before the court. It's been 10 years, Sally. They have not been convicted. And the state, because of that wrongful arrest and malicious prosecution, has had to pay nearly 102 million rand for that. Now, if you look at the fact that it's been 10 years, and actually on Sunday when we got here, we managed to speak to two men who are part of the 17, and they are saying, obviously denying murdering the 10. They are therefore saying that if the state had a winning case against us, 10 years later, by now surely they would have convicted us. And one of them, Sally, was actually shot 9 times. He says he spent about 5 months in ICU. Upon his release from hospital, he says they arrested and charged him. And he claims that the former provincial police commissioner, Zukiswa Mbombo, who has since retired, actually came to his ward in hospital and tried to coerce him into confessing to those murders. And he says, I will never do that.
So, Moloko, I want you to stay with us because I want to just take a couple of clips from the commemoration events that have happened today, and then I want to ask you a final question about the lives of workers since the massacre. Let's listen to Irvin Barnes from the National Freedom Party first.
Operation Tumamina's time is up. Kunjongo Baniti, you are sick and tired, 10 years of betrayal. Sitting NFP, come 2012, 2024, we are sick and tired of 12 years of betraying abantu base Marikana. Ramaphosa, we call upon you ukuthi akuwenze into eyodwa esothi masikhuluma phezu kwakho sithi abantu base Marikana wabasiza wabasula inyembezi. Ngifuna ukuthi kini, we are sick and tired of abaholi who are cold, who are carefree, who are dishonest, who are corrupt.
It is a history of mining where under the ground the wealth of the people of Africa is taken elsewhere and brought back to them in much more expensive goods, while the Africans themselves are living in absolute poverty. It is a history of taking minerals on the back of cheap black labor, so that black labor, when it protests one day, you can send your army and mow your people down. It shall never happen again. So when we say what has changed, we mustn't say for the last 10 years. We must look at the last century and say this must be the last century where minerals are taken and nothing is given back. If we are to change and fix what happened in Marikana, let's make sure what comes from under this ground benefits the people who died on this ground and benefits the people on this ground. Then we will know
we are free as Africans. Amandla.
Still such an emotive issue, and we had the Farnham Commission of Inquiry that didn't find any link between Cyril Ramaphosa, his position at the time in private business, and the massacre itself. Of course, people criticise that finding. But let's take it back to the people of the area, because essentially this strike was for a better wage, for 12,500 rand a month, and it came to a massacre. Has the mine, and we know it's changed ownership in the last 10 years, made a plan for people to have a better working conditions, better living conditions? Are people living a better quality of life in Marikana at least now?
Well, Sally, you are correct. The reason why we are here, the reason there is this Marikana massacre was because the workers at the time were earning as less as 4,000 rand a month, and they were demanding minimum salary of 12,500. They ultimately got it. Of course, others had to die. However, now as we speak, the workers, you would recall a few months ago, were on strike. They are now demanding monthly salary of 20,000 rand. We don't know whether things will get to a level of the 2012 massacre. We hope not. But if you look at the statement that was released by the Minerals Councils of South Africa earlier today, they are claiming that salaries of workers in the platinum sector have increased since Marikana, have increased by up to 90%, Sally, and within the broader mining sector, they say salaries have increased by up to 80%. Now, when you then look at the statement that was released jointly by Amnesty International and the Center for Applied Legal Studies, they are saying that following the Marikana massacre, the government promised to build 2,600 houses here in Marikana. And according to those two organizations, only less than 600 houses were built. It's been 10 years, Sally. And they are saying government is slow in implementing its own promises and commitments. And on the other hand, they are saying Sibanye-Stillwater, the mine that bought Lonmin, is now pointing a finger of blame at Lonmin. So if you walk or take a drive in the nearby area where many people are staying just opposite the mine of Sibanye-Stillwater, Sally, it's very difficult. There are no roads, water really all over, and they are saying, look, we're living in dirt and squalor, we're living in shacks, and it's not promising that it will ever change for the better. And we heard lastly Bishop Paul Verreyn of the Methodist Church earlier also lamenting the state of this area, saying that we must have a university, for instance, so that the children here can also empower themselves, and saying that the rich people must be able to see the situation here so that action could be taken.
Well, thank you so much for giving us such a clear idea of the dynamics at play 10 years after that horrific massacre. Thank you so much for your time. Moloto coming to us live from the Northwest Province. Now, still